been there 18 hours in a dress of a iconic Disney princess, I'd just be paid for every hour that it streams online.
Rachel Zegler is furious beyond belief after learning about Disney's second Snow White sequel. You would think Disney would take it easy after all the hoopla, criticism, and a $115 million box office failure. However, they set off the fuse, and Rachel has never been a silent person. She's expressing her opinions, hurling insults, and giving away enormous behind-the-scenes upheaval with anything from subtle digs to full-on rage. And believe me when I warn that what she says next might blow everything up. However, where did this mayhem actually start? Let's go back to October of 2016, when Disney had serious aspirations. People thought it was a very brave decision when they revealed they were working on a live-action adaptation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Aaron Cressida Wilson was hired to write the script, and Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, the two men behind La La Land and The Greatest Showman, were brought in to add some spice. Expectations were, of course, extremely high since, after all, what could go wrong with glitter, jazz hands, and woodland animals? In May 2019, director Mark Webb became a member of the team. Fans were either extremely bewildered or thrilled at that point. It's one thing to swing through New York, but it's quite another to guide a jealous queen and talking animals. However, things continued to go forward, and for a time, there was hope. Twitter was operating normally in June 2021 when Rachel Zegler was abruptly revealed by Disney as the new Snow White. The famous gown was being worn by the powerful voice from West Side Story. When Gal Gadot, Miss Wonder Woman herself, chose to portray the villainous queen in November, things became much more interesting. And who doesn't want to see Gal wearing a floor-length cloak, grinning and planning mirror-based sabotage? She even said that she was eager to play the villain.
You're not playing Snow White. You're playing the iconic evil queen. It's really...
Jonathan, another unexpected figure, then appeared in January 2022. This time, Prince Charming was not going to happen. Instead, Andrew Burnett played a new character who was reminiscent to Robin Hood. Disney was obviously feeling adventurous. But in March 2022, a fire started on the set right as the cast was assembled and the forest was ready to come to life. Although fortunately no one was harmed, the damage resulted in delays. With expansive sets, dramatic lighting, and a ton of green screen trickery, filming continued until July 2022. However, there was still another surprise when they eventually decided it was time to wrap. The company decided to reshoot in June 2024 after test screenings didn't exactly extol Disney's virtues. Let's now discuss a few of the controversies. In response, Peter Dinklage criticized the Seven Dwarfs idea in general.
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that f***ing backward story of seven dwarfs living in a cave. What the f*** are you doing, man?
Following this, Disney applied the brakes and declared, okay, fine, they're magical creatures now. Additionally, they added some CGI magic to really mix things up. However, did that resolve the issue? Not at all. Some people in the dwarfism community expressed displeasure, claiming that it was a missed chance for real representation. However, Rachel Zegler is the subject of all the biggest scandals. Almost immediately after Disney announced that Rachel Zegler would be playing Snow White, the takes began to flow. People were applauding the long-overdue diversity on one side, but on the other. To put it mildly, the audience who favored the classic Snow White had their reservations. All of a sudden, Snow White was popular for the wrong reasons. Despite the fact that the plot involves talking woodland animals and a lady who makes friends with 7 strange people in the forest, critics protested that Disney was altering history. However, Rachel refused to give up. Rather, she emphasized the value of representation, emphasized how popular Snow White is in Spanish-speaking nations, and expressed her excitement about bringing the character to a new level. And everyone was listening, whether you were clapping or flinching. But hold on, we're just getting started if you thought the casting turmoil was the high point. Rachel described the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in a 2022 interview as very out of date, and you could almost hear the collective gasp from Disney traditionalists all throughout the world. She didn't stop there, though. In addition, she described the movie's prince as, quote, strange, and made it apparent that her version of Snow White wasn't idly waiting for a stranger to enter her life and make things right.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved the prince.
She's not going to be saved prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
While some fans were terribly insulted, others praised this interpretation as modern, refreshing, and long-deserved. After then, everything became political. When Rachel posted on social media in August 2024, the teaser trailer had just been released, and everyone was either side-eyeing the dwarf's absence or bawling over the CGI deer. The final 2 words of her message, Free Palestine, caused the comments to blow up. Because her co-star Gal Gadot was openly pro-Israel, while Rachel was advocating for Palestinian rights. In case you were wondering what transpired next, the answer is mayhem. Fans began scrutinizing every promotional image for indications of side-eye, boycotts were threatened, and comment sections went all Hunger Games. Then things worsened. Rachel's earlier tweets, which mocked former President Donald Trump, were discovered and severely disparaged his fans. And suddenly a whole new storm began. Reposting, reacting, canceling, and defending were all happening. And all of it was really draining. It was time for Rachel to apologize by November 2024.
And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait line and see.
She claimed that all she wanted was peace and that she never intended to injure anyone. However, by that point, the damage had been done and the atmosphere on the set had entirely changed. Rumor had it that Rachel and Gal were not exactly on the same page. Gal was standing here while Rachel was voicing her support for Palestine.
In front of you today, saying simply that my name is Gal and I'm Jewish, and we have had enough of Jew hatred.
However, politics wasn't the only factor in their split. On-set tension was mentioned by reporters in passing, and some even asserted that Disney had to give Gal additional protection after threats began to come in. The worst part was that the actresses had separate press conferences booked by the studio, with no stage laughs on a common couch. And that's basically code for them not being pals in Hollywood. Imagine Disney's marketing department today, sending out panicked emails, altering trailers in a hurry, and employing a full-time social media babysitter to keep a close eye on Rachel's accounts. The launch of the promotion was more clumsy than anticipated. The atmosphere on the red carpet was tight, interviews were circumspect, and joint appearances were uncommon.